Welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer and Larry, and today we're going to be talking about Lovecraft Country episode number 8. We only have 2 episodes left, and for those of you who've subbed to the channel or hit the upvote or left a comment, we highly appreciate it. If you've not yet subbed, please do so. A lot of content on the channel. You know, we're currently doing The Boys. We did all of Raised by Wolves. We got Fargo. Whole lot of other content coming, especially later this October. So yeah, we're going to talk about Lovecraft Country. And in tonight's episode, it opened with a funeral, and the funeral was for Emmett Till. Now, this was a real event. This actually happened. You know, yeah, the show's fictional, but no, this is an actual event that happened. Emmett Till was brutally tortured and murdered in 1955. He was a 14-year-old young African-American male. And it's been interesting how the show has taken real-world stuff. And yes, there's, you know, the magic and the monsters and everything, but the show has, you know, done a good job of showing us real monsters, real horrible things that have happened. And I just wanted to know what you guys thought about the fact that the show uses real historical events to frame the backdrop of what are these fiction stories.
I think that they do a great job of it because when you talk about, you said, you know, real life monsters, although we have these fictional things, like even at the end, the giant monster running around, or they're casting spells and all this stuff. Like it, I mean, I'm not going to offend any Wiccan or anything, or people who believe in that there are spells. I don't know of any spells that really exist, but to see that kind of stuff transpire,
I was saying we just lost 10 subscribers right there.
But it puts you in a real place. Like, it shows that it makes all the other aspects of the show, all the monsters and spells, it makes it feel more real when they're showing real life events, real life bigotry, hatred, like the things that would really happen during that time frame. And they're not non-existent today, but it's a little what transpired was a little less commonplace, but it puts you in a real place, and I think that makes all the other parts of the show feel way more real.
Like, and I think it honestly highlights that the scarier thing, the scarier parts of this show are the realer aspects of the show, because as I mentioned in the first couple episodes, and this has continued to be the case, when the magic happens, when the monsters show up, that's the least tense part of the show. It's when you're dealing with the real issues, when, you know, like when the cops, when our police officer characters are dealing with their main characters and everything, the tension that you have there, when they were in Arden and surrounded by all these rich racist people who didn't want them to be there. You know, the tension very much comes from what's real. And oftentimes when a monster does show up, like, you know, a fictional monster, you're like, oh, thank God, something to relieve the tension.
I don't know, those little things dancing around in this episode made me feel pretty damn uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, and that was the one time when we had a monster that was more of a representation of an issue, and not so much just something completely outside of fiction that, you know, represents nothing. So yeah, they were a little uncomfortable.
But I think they also tie into what you said, that those felt more lifelike and a representation of the real bigotry and hatred and those kind of things that were going on, as opposed to, you know, the vampire monster things. Like those felt like almost the things that were chasing Diana were almost like an extension of the things that were happening that were more real.
Speaking of Diana, this episode was sort of her episode. There are other characters that have a lot going on, but she's sort of the main one. And she's dealing with, within the context of the story, Emmett Till was her friend. So she's lost a friend. Her father is dead. She doesn't know where her mother is. Everyone seems to be lying to her. And on top of all this, a cop curses her. She's going through some shit. Go more into, what do you think about where her character's going and where it's going to end up. We saw that at the ending that she's physically cursed. You know, she's it fucked her up. So what do you think is that's going? Where do you think that's going?
I think
Well,
Ashley Banks is just waiting on Will to come in and save the day. Diana looks to me so much like Ashley Banks, fucking Fresh Prince.
she does look a lot like her, doesn't she?
Like as a kid. Now she doesn't. I mean, obviously, Tatiana Ali's 40, but
right. Like, but yeah, it's another one of those scenarios, and I think we say this almost every episode now. It's another one of those scenarios where the fact that nobody will talk to each other is one of the biggest issues in the show. Like, it's in the biggest thing that keeps conflict going, that keeps the main characters looking for a mystery where there doesn't necessarily need to be one, because if only they would talk to each other or explain what's going on.
well, yeah, because even with all the things that her dad did, all the books that were there, all the sci-fi things that were there, the Ori that they found, if they would have just told Diana, hey, look, we think that your mom's okay, but we're not 100% sure. This is kind of what happened. And as soon as Diana's just like, oh, this is bullshit, be like, has anything weird happened to you? Have you experienced anything? Because then immediately she could be like, oh, shit. Yeah, I have. So like you said, communicating with each other, the curse never would have happened had they been honest with her about Hippolyta.
Yeah, and they didn't even, like you said, what you said wasn't a lie. It was letting her know that she is missing and some things that happen, and it's a vague, roundabout way to kind of give her an idea of what's happening without sounding crazy, and without lying to her. Just a little bit of information, just a small information exchange between the two of them. And hell, between Hippolyta and Hippolyta wouldn't be trapped in time, and they would have all figured this out, and they'd probably collectively have a better idea of how the Ori works. In which case, they wouldn't be wondering like, oh, is she dead? Is she trapped in time? They'd be like, oh no, well, she's probably here because we know how the Ori works, and hell, we went with her. Who knows? It thinks this whole series could have been completely different if they'd communicate with each other. Like, speaking of which. And I'll go ahead and skip there since it ties into that theme. Atticus's whole situation and Letty's situation, where they are now in the series, and the deals they're doing with Christina. None of that may have had to happen if they just once again talk to each other.
That's so true.
Yeah, I caught up with my aunt, and she was like, I was hurled forward in time. I don't know what happened to her, but I got this book from our son that you didn't tell me about yet. Yeah, if they had just talked, they could have planned something.
Especially since the book lays out roughly what happened.
What happened, yeah.
He's like, yes, Christina is trying to get immortality. She's going to sacrifice Atticus to achieve it. They have a son. Why keep that close to the vest,
Yeah, exactly. And that's the sort of thing that if he laid out, then there's a pretty good chance they would have come up with a plan, or they would have at least gone, oh shit, let's not hand her the keys to the thing she's trying to do. Let's not all well, at one point, literally hand her the key. Like, but let's not literally give her.
Literally.
Yeah. let's literally not give her this key. Let's not give her the other component she needs for this, because it seems to me perhaps this happened because we all kept doing the shit that we were doing and not talking to each other. And so we kept having to go to alternate sources for help instead of each other. And so eventually she winds up with everything because we all know nowhere else to turn but her. And that's what's happening in the series. If they just talked, that wouldn't be the case.
Well, even if just two of them talked, communication can be hard sometimes. It's a real part of life, whether it's relationships or with coworkers or bosses, or communication is not always easy. However, if any one of them communicated with any one of the other, it could have probably prevented at least half of what's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And a real big example here, instead of him freaking out and trying to protect Letty by keeping her out of things. He's like, hey, we need to protect ourselves. We do need to learn magic and stuff. Do you still have that number to that woman who taught you, well, who put the protection thing over the house? You know, clearly she knows magic. Like one big, well, maybe not a plot hole, but another part of the theme that, you know, what they truly lack is communication here. You know, just ask Letty about that. Learn, like, talk to the voodoo woman, and she'll give you all the answers you want.
I want to know what you guys think about Christina and Ruby's relationship. We get a very disturbing sexual encounter. I mean, God, I applaud the FX team, the special effects, the CG, however they pulled that whole thing off. Very graphic, very bloody, very gory.
Yeah, probably the most disturbing, like, you know, scene like that you've seen in a movie, like, and but
you have
a TV show.
You have the confrontation where they both sort of tell each other how the other one should feel or feels, and they lay it all on the line. Very, you know, confrontational. Not long after that, Christina pays some guys to kill and torture her, essentially how Emmett Till was killed, to experience it. Ruby then later goes and tells Letty, yeah, I know about magic. I know all this stuff. And you know what? I'm with Christina. And she, you know, that's my girl. We're working together. She's going to give me some magic. And in the preview for next week, they're, you know, still working together.
You know, that's
a lot to unpack, but that relationship,
it is.
What do you guys think?
You know what? I didn't even put two and two together that's why she did that, you know, but
it was exactly how, yeah.
They didn't Ruby say something to her about how she'll never experience anything, and you know, she was telling her that she will never experience the fear. Like there's
she wants her to feel and understand what she's saying, you know, and this is Christina's incredibly fucked up way of doing that, of trying to understand her, because I guess in her, once again, still fucked up, but in her own way, she's trying to maintain this relationship and actually understand her in a way. Like, but going about it definitely, huh?
Oh, I was going to say that. I thought that was promising for her relationship with Ruby, because it makes it feel less like she's trying to manipulate her and she's actually trying to forge a relationship, because Ruby wasn't around watching her do this. Like, she did this for her.
Just to gain understanding.
To me, that's a sign.
Yeah, true. That's a sign of a person who's messed up in a lot of ways, you know, but trying to understand to some degree. And the thing is, like, back to the sex scene, to me, that was so gruesome and everything. Looking back on it, well, after the conversation they had with it, like, you know, at first I was wondering, like, well, where are they going with this? You know, because they you know, I criticized them before on their CG and everything early in the season, but they clearly put a lot of effort in that. They put a lot of effort into the last few episodes we've seen with the CG, and I think it was as gruesome as it was because it was also just kind of a metaphor for how ugly their relationship was.
Yeah, I could see that. Absolutely.
Because they're both kind of using each other, and you know, there isn't that understanding there, and no one's trying it to each other. They're both an ends to a means.
We get, like I said, Christina was all over this episode as well as Diana. She meets up before we get to that, let's talk about, and I can't remember the name, but the succubus fox thing. She shows up, and I don't know if I liked how that played out. To me, it was just too quick. She shows up, Atticus is there. They have a brief conversation, literally a minute or two, basically her confirming, yeah, all this shit happened. It irritates Letty, and then Atticus basically tells her, you know, you mean nothing to me, and then he walks away. That's it. Now, I'm assuming she'll pop up again. I don't know, but I don't know if I like what was the point. I get, you know what I mean? It was the way it was sort of jammed in there, that was one thing in this episode. I love this episode, but that was one thing that I thought they should have done more with if they were going to bring her in. Or how did you feel about the briefness of her appearance and I know what the purpose was for Letty to find out about Atticus keeping the secrets from her, but I don't know. What did you guys think about it?
Like you said, it felt like almost a plot device to move Letty and Atticus's story forward, which was frustrating to me because they made me in the love triangle choose Gia. Like I chose her like 2 episodes ago. So now for this, it makes me be mad at Atticus, even though I shouldn't be, I guess, because he, throughout this episode, he goes through so much, chooses, the right thing over and over, tries to protect his kid, talks to his dad, kind of reconciles a little bit. But I go back to the first couple minutes and I'm like, he chose fucking Letty, and it pissed me off. It was almost, it hurt to see Gia feel that way. However, I don't think that she's just a plot device, because with all the things that are going on, I think that they're going to be able to use her nine-tail spirit thing to help them. So I think that they're going to end up using her for what she is. But I don't think that it was just a plot device this time to help Atticus and Letty. I think they're just basically trying to remind us that she's still around, and now she's in the States and now she can help. But it was frustrating to see it transpire the way it did.
Yeah, because like you said, after that backstory episode, his relationship with Gia feels more real. And thinking back to it, given that he just came back from Vietnam, it really wasn't that long ago. So
Korea.
Yeah, my bad, Korea. wrong war. But yeah, the fact that he just came back from Korea, it wasn't that long ago, and it does seem more real. And it's the sort of thing where it still feels like even him yelling in her face and telling her that was fake and everything, it still seemed like, because we've seen Atticus do this before, his way of trying to protect everybody, trying to get her to go home, trying to get Letty to take care of this on his own. He figures if he goes out on his own and does what needs to be done, then everyone else will be safe. And he's already aware of his own death and everything. He didn't need those answers. We know that now. So, part of the screaming that he did at her, he already was aware of not just the premonitions of his death, but he knows how it happens and when. So he wasn't mad at her for that. He wasn't mad at her for being an ill omen. He may have been a little mad about the abruptness of it and how awkward the situation was, but even then, I don't know. I feel like Atticus was trying to protect them both in a way.
He was trying to not choose sides. He was trying to ride the fence a little bit until he basically told her to go away. But even that didn't feel like full-hearted. It was like he didn't know what to do. And because, like you said, he knows Letty is pregnant because of the book and everything. So I felt like in his mind, he was doing the right thing by standing by Letty, but it didn't feel like that's what he wanted to do. It felt like he was just trying to make a choice in that moment.
Yeah, it seems like, especially given what we know now, that he was aware, potentially. He's like, well, chances are I'm going to die anyway, so none of this really matters. And it's like, I might as well do what I can to keep them safe.
This was my favorite episode as far as Atticus and Montrose's relationship. I thought the actors' chemistry was great. I like the dynamic, the conversations, Montrose opening up and explaining everything that he could as far as why he made the decisions he made and who he was as a person. The spell scene I thought was interesting. Them trying to figure out how to do the spell. We've seen a lot of Montrose sprinkled throughout the series. I've had a lot of conflicting feelings about the character because on the one hand, I like why I love the actor, but
the character,
he's done some horrible shit too, So it's like it's like, man, you've done some fucked up stuff. But what did y'all think about him and Atticus? At least I think those two have finally sort of hashed out their issue with each other.
I think the backstory that they gave with Montrose a little bit more made me feel more for Montrose.
Yes, it was. I love that scene. Yeah.
I think it added a lot to the fear and everything that he felt, because even outside of all the Lovecraftian stuff that's going on, he saw a pastor who was gay, who was also afraid to be gay, basically get ostracized and have half his brain taken out because they said he was crazy. So he sees all this as a kid. Now he's trying to basically grow up, deal with these feelings, and be like, oh shit. So he didn't want to die. He didn't want to get locked up. He didn't want to be called crazy for trying to be himself. So he lived in this shell of himself for so long that he didn't know how to be himself. It was like a survival of the fittest. He was just trying to survive, not live, not doing, just literally survive. And that was hard to hear, because as an actor, he does such a great job. I always praise Michael K. Williams. He does so good, but I've hated his character. Not that he's done it bad. Like, I hate Montrose. Like, I feel like he's an awful human being. But seeing this episode, I was like, damn, quit making me feel bad for this guy. I want to not like him.
Yeah,
I feel bad for him again.
I felt the same way for once. That I just you kind of feel bad for him, and at that time I was trying to remember, after the backstory and him actually helping out his son. I was trying to think back, like, well, he's still an ass, and he's still kind of done a lot of really shitty things that all this still doesn't explain. But at that moment, he seemed, very human, and he was legitimately trying to help in a way that was productive for once. And with him trying to learn the spell and everything, even though it may have been a better idea for I don't know, to find someone else, bring someone else in and cast it, given that we now know that he's dyslexic, because I imagine that's the kind of thing that you don't want to mess up the first time. Like, but
yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Like, but yeah, you did feel for Montrose a little bit more in this episode, and it did make me, I guess, I don't know, kind of like the character a little bit more. He seemed less unreasonable.
It was I think it was that relationship with Atticus that's what sold it, because even yet again, old Montrose was in this episode. If you go back early in it, when Dee is in the bathroom, dealing with her situation, he's trying to help. He absolutely is, but there's a second where she's looking in the mirror and he snaps a little bit. If you listen, get your ass out here, and then he catches himself. So it does seem like he's trying. He seems to he tones it down and calms down and explains. But there's a moment there where he starts to,
Well, yeah, that part wasn't so bad because that's just him. That wasn't so bad because that's just him being an angry dad.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing I don't harp on. I don't hate the character because he's angry. There's plenty of angry, pissed off characters that we like, but we get the angle behind what they do. Like him.
But we know where his anger goes sometimes.
It's a place of concern this time.
Yeah, true. But we know that it in the past, at least with Atticus as a child, led to violence and abuse. Not that he was going to do that with Dee, but just there was that moment where I was like, oh man, chill out, dude. And then, but I liked that the character seemed to catch himself. Like even Montrose was like, oh yeah, and it was explaining to her, how he felt and how he was trying to help her. But yeah, Montrose is a very complicated character, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think he'd ever hit Dee, because for one, that probably would be the end of him. Atticus would be through at that point.
Probably kill him.
Yeah, chances are.
He was gonna earlier in the season.
Well, yeah, if it came down to that, where he saw the same thing that was happening to him was happening to Dee, he'd probably kill him at that point.
So Letty is now invulnerable. She made a deal with Christina. She cast a spell on her. That's an easy, quick ass spell to cast, by the way. I was like, damn, that's it. Like, but she did it, and now Letty has the branding on her and
I'm
is
gonna
protected.
I'm gonna rewatch that part like 20 times and see if it works.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Well, well, yeah, and it's one of those things where I was, especially the way it went down and the scarring and everything. I wasn't as sure. I'm not 100% sure that it's just a spell or just a beneficial spell. I think it's as much a benefit as it is a curse, because for one, it's called the Mark of Cain, and there was some symbolism in her and Letty accepting and asking for the Mark of Cain in a church.
I'm okay with that.
Well, yeah, it's the sort of thing, that, like, I mean, clearly that scene was set up that way for a reason. The show that she made sort of a Faustian bargain where it's like, yeah, you think you purely have benefit from this, but what did you lose? And we'll probably find that out in later episodes.
The cops had several appearances. Cop lodge, whatever you want to call them, the magic cops, and we discovered that
they sound so much less menacing when you call them that.
The Clodge.
The magic cops.
We learn a lot of things with their lead guy can cast spells. He can cast curses. He did it on D. He wants the Ori. They come to the house at the end, and that last 5 minutes, that's some of the most intense, edge of your seat entertainment I've seen in quite some time. Like, literally, I didn't know what was going to happen in those last several minutes, but when they get to the house, he cannot enter because of that seal, but one of the other cops walks in. So that shows us that not every single cop in that crew is part of that necessarily magic users. They're just his bitches, basically, that do whatever he says. But he was blocked. So he was a danger. He was evil. He posed a threat. And then he decides, well, fuck it. They're just going to shoot up the house, not knowing that Letty has a invulnerable ability spell. Ruby doesn't, of course. Atticus shows up, and holy shit, what did y'all think was going to happen before what happened? I didn't know. I was literally sitting there like, fuck, I don't know what's going to happen.
I assumed that Letty at that point, when she saw the bullets hitting the like space around her, I figured Letty was going to go ape shit on somebody because, she couldn't get hit or injured. So I was thinking that she was getting ready to go outside with the gun, and I'm like, so my thought process is, holy shit, she's going to go kill these cops, and now it's going to look like they had provocation to shoot the house up, kill her. So I'm like, god damn it, Letty, don't fall into their trap. So I'm thinking the whole time, like, this is going to be worse for them. And then she walks outside, and the giant eyeballed vampire monster from the first couple of episodes shows up and just annihilates everybody. And I was like, oh shit. So it threw me for a big loop, because I really did assume that she was about to go out there and just start killing folks.
Here's what I thought. I thought Atticus was going to get shot at that point, and I thought I was pretty sure this was going to be the point where we would see the results of this protection spell. But I kind of thought that what Montrose said earlier was a bit of foreshadowing there, that I'm going to do what I have to do to protect my son and my grandson. So I figured that it was the sort of spell that they don't know how it worked, but like, given that was his intent, because they said that's part of your spell, you need an intent and an energy and like blood or something to mark it with. And so my assumption was that Atticus would get shot, but Montrose would take that damage.
Damn, that would have been some shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I never went. I didn't know. That's a good. You should have wrote the episode, Larry. Yeah, that would have been like, oh man. Yeah, the effects in this one was great. Yeah, it started killing everyone, and then we're left sort of with a bit of a cliffhanger ending, because Dee is being cursed, and we're seeing it take on a physically in her body. This was, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, outside of episode 1, This is the first straight cliffhanger episode besides the first one. Am I right?
I believe so.
Yeah, because I was thinking about like this one felt like a setup to a finale, but there's actually two. You know, we're getting two more
Well, I
episodes.
think that the finale is basically going to be like a two-parter. And like you said,
Yeah.
they haven't got picked up necessarily yet. So I think that they may be planning to wrap everything up.
Yeah, I
Just in
checked
case.
online as of now. As of this recording, it has not been picked up for a second season. So I would assume we would get that news soon if it's going to happen, but not. I don't know. As far as a second season, it's hard to say what you would want from a second season at this point because we don't know how this one's going to resolve, and there's still so many unanswered questions. Specifically, let's wrapping this up somewhat. The book. Let's talk. We talked about it earlier, but let's really go into this book. So Atticus, and we said this, I believe, last week. Hippolyta. We saw her journey, her what she went through. We don't know where she's at this exact moment, but we question what happened to Atticus. He went through and he came back. Did he have a similar experience? And it turns out he did have an experience. He was in a future in which he found out that he had a son. He got a book that tells their story. And it's very meta. You know, this show is based off of a book called Lovecraft Country. And some of the things he said about the differences, those are some of the differences that are in the book.
Yeah.
I looked that up because so I thought that was cool. Very Stephen King, Dark Tower ish with all
You're
that.
like referencing something, but not really.
How much more I'm assuming he's read the whole book at this point. Imagine how many secrets he's keeping, things that he knows, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point because he has an understanding from other people's perspective as well. If that's the case, he knows characters' motivations, their storylines, what they're going through. Heck, he knows that Letty's sister now knows about magic, and he wouldn't have known that because that would only be that's probably only a show thing. I'm pretty sure, Dee's storyline is only happening in the show the way it is. I can't imagine otherwise he'd stop it, I'd imagine. But then again, it is odd that they go to look for her after she leaves the funeral, and then they just kind of stop looking for her.
They're just like, she'll be all right.
So maybe he did know something.
I don't know. Yeah, what do you think? I thought it was cool that he had it in his, if you noticed every scene before he even brought up the book, he was holding it. He had it on his person throughout the episode. You could catch it in different shots. So he's keeping that book close to himself.
Right.
What would happen if Christina got that book? That was another thought I had.
It's almost like Biff.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I see how this ends. I know how you guys beat me. And she tries to change that. That's a good question. Like, but yeah, what would happen? We may be in a Biff situation here. Like, but I thought it was I thought it was kind of a red herring that it appeared to be written by George in the first place, and we thought initially that it may have been like that he came back with a version of Lovecraft Country written by his uncle in an alternate timeline, but it turns out it's written by his son from the future. Like, I think my main question is, as much as what happens if she finds it, I think it very much depends on, which I don't think any of us know, unless Brian, you've read it or you've read spoilers for the end of that book. What happens in that book? How does the book end?
Oh,
Purposely not. So no, I don't know. So listeners have read the book and put any spoilers. Yeah, 2 more weeks. I can wait 2 weeks to look that up.
Well, I mean, here's my question too. Like, do we know? Like, we got a pretty good hint this episode, and I think this is the first episode that really just kind of spells it out. That Christina, well, we know she's cold-blooded as hell, but is she like full-on evil? Like, does she plan to do evil? What if she wins? If she gets true immortality, is that her goal? You know,
I think it was a
Not
cool.
100% sure.
I think it was a cool nod though, because that book. It's obviously not the writer of Lovecraft Country, but was that a nod that the book and this show are going to be different?
Yeah, they already are, and to some degree.
Well, yeah. I mean, clearly they're not the same already, but I thought that was kind of cool that they're basically setting it up to where it's clearly not going to be the same. So that could make it to where they could do multiple seasons. Maybe that was the way that they were aligning that. I don't know.
yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Oh, any we breezed through this one a little quicker than we usually do, but I think we hit most of the major points. Any other thoughts as far as this particular episode?
Oh, I have several about Diana and the little curse. Good Lord, that was the creepiest. The little clown. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah. That and I'm also very curious. Like, if we're gonna go into the Yugoloth more on the show, like, is that a consistent thing? Is this a thing that's gonna, like, was that a spell that happens once and then you got to recast it, or is this just a thing that Atticus has now?
And how does it work? Is it only when he feels threatened, or what?
Right? Yeah, and is it the sort of thing, much like the deal with the door on the house, where it seems to be like magic user with ill intent is in proximity of your door, they can't come in. Is it the same thing with this spell? It's like, okay, this person has magical abilities and they clearly wish you harm, so this thing appears. And I thought it was pretty interesting too that it seemed like the ones that we've seen previously, they look very earthy, like they look like moles, but this one looked like it was made out of asphalt. So I guess the creatures also sort of take on aspects of whatever they're summoned from, and aren't maybe so much living things as much as they're, sort of constructs in a way.
That I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question, because you have we saw them burn in the second episode.
Yeah.
And Christina was involved in like birth, and so there's that whole aspect, and this one just seemed, again, where it comes from, and not sure. I'm pretty sure I guess they'll explain it to some degree in the next episode.
Yeah, that's a good question too. It's like, did Montrose summon that, or did he accidentally create that? It's the question also. Like, can he just make these things, or are these creatures that already exist, in Chicago, just under the streets?
Well, I don't know if they are constructs of Christina, because she gave Atticus the spell, so maybe it's followed her and not necessarily, or it could have been vice versa. It followed Atticus because he was, they were in the woods with him. They were protecting him. So I don't know if it was necessarily that Christina was the one who did this, or if it was something that was protecting Atticus on multiple occasions, or protecting the bloodline, because that is part of Atticus's bloodline. So I don't know if this is necessarily just a Braithwaite bloodline protector or what. I don't know.
Well, and that's a good point. We do see her birth one, so and that scene seemed to have no relevance. Us seeing her birth one of the Yugoloths, like, so is that a setup in a way to see that maybe she had some foresight in a certain way, and was aware that some of these things might happen. Like, was that the same
well,
Yugoloth that she birthed?
Yeah, we said that I think back when it aired. What was the point of that scene? I think we even talked about it in that particular review because it was just there, and then it had, especially now, there's never any. They haven't shown anything. The only thing I got from it back when it aired was that it was showing some humanity in her, and that she had compassion because she was helping birth this creature, and she seemed it's the only time she's seen excited about anything outside of the kids are playing tag. Excuse me, they were jump roping in this episode. Playing tag. Yeah, they were pulling a Freddy Krueger scene with D with the girls jump roping.
Yeah,
reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was trying to connect the dots in my head, and like, I've seen this scene set up in an ominous way before. Where is it from? That's right. Nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought another solid episode. Great effects. Characters, strong characters. 2 left, 2 hours, or unless the last episode's longer than an hour. And then that's it. Anything else?
Well, I just want to say I hope this show gets renewed for a second season. I'd hate to see it end here. It seems to me
I agree.
I feel like they have plans for a second. Like, this is something that they potentially have planned to be ongoing in a way, and I'd like to at least see a second, and third season.
I would just like to see. I like this kind of story. I think that they could easily wrap it up to where I wouldn't feel lost without them, without these characters. But I do think that they have the potential to have a very good story being told for a much longer period of time. I think that they could very easily wrap it up and tie it up to where this would be one of those great one season kind of stories. But I would love to see it carry on for more than one season.
I agree. I feel that it feels like something that should go multiple seasons. I don't know. I'm just getting that vibe, but I don't know if that's the plan at all, and they haven't said. And usually we're at a point where they would have already said, typically. So I don't know. We'll know. I think maybe yes or no. But yeah, I hope they get more. But yeah, all right. Shit. Oh yeah, we're doing Fargo tomorrow. next review will be Fargo, and then so look forward to that. And I've said it in the past, but it's actually happening now. Scripted content is coming to the channel this month. Forward to that. All right. Bye.
Bye.